I don't have to be in my whatever circumstances that you're not happy with. You can change that, and that there's the possibilities of your life are so unlimited.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Chat with Nick. And right next to me is a phenomenal guest. I have her for the very first time here at our show. She's an author, an entrepreneur, and now a filmmaker and producer. Hi Celeste, how are you doing?
Hi, Mick. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me on your show. And I know you're going on how many years? 5 years?
Five, thank you.
Oh, wow. Keep on going. Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm getting ready for my movie premiere, and it's really all very exciting.
And I see you have something very special in your hands.
Yes, I have my book with me. It's called Butterfly, and there's a blue butterfly with a broken wing. Yes, and then on the back of the book, the wings all repaired and whole, and the butterfly's whole. And a little bit of history about the butterfly, if I may. Yes, it was designed by a friend, Alfredo Violante Widmer. He is in London, and one day he surprised me with this butterfly, and then there was an accompanying video of this butterfly actually flapping its wings and going through the metamorphosis. And it's a beautiful video. And he also wrote an accompanying song to it. And he called it Celeste. And he and his wife surprised me with it one day. And I'm very grateful. So I decided to use it as the cover.
And so why did you choose the butterfly as a metaphor for your transformation?
Well, you know, as human beings, we all experience some sort of darkness in our lives, however that looks for you. And when the caterpillar goes into the cocoon stage, is that how it works? Yes, it cocoons itself. It's dark, and they don't know what they will look like when they come out of that cocoon. And so it's pretty much like what I went through, maybe what you also experienced, is that when you have a dark period in your life, it teaches you things, it makes you stronger, and yet by the end of that dark period, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, and you come out, emerge as this stronger, more robust, more beautiful creature, just like the butterfly. It's just a little inchworm crawling around, and then it goes through this whole cocooning, dark period, and then boom, you have this beautiful butterfly.
And so in your book, in the first two chapters, you talk about that dark period in your life. Yes. And so how were you able to get out of that period?
Sheer determination. I'm not going to give out details because it wouldn't do justice talking about it. The written word is much stronger for me. I wasn't very spiritual at all during that time. I was married for 25 years. And lived through some, situations that really didn't encourage me to be the full potential that I could have been or could be. And so through the challenges, through each of the challenges, and I was in a very depressed state. I will just put that out there. There was still a flicker of hope. And I really basically lived for my daughter, who was just so young and still needed me. And I had to pull myself together. And I also wanted to make sure that I can support myself. And I just did it. I just woke up every morning determined that I was going to get through the day, no matter what.
So did you take any counseling or any kind of therapy? Because there's certain steps that you have to take to get out of that state, of that depressed state, whether you're taking something for that, like taking medication or not for that. But there are certain steps or exercises that make you want to get up, and pull yourself together, and knowing that, you have a daughter, someone is dependent on you.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So that's a loaded question, Mick. I don't even know how to approach that. Okay. So let's just say, yes, I was medicated for quite a while. And there's always this fog in my head. It's just like I couldn't think clearly. At one point in time, I woke up and I said, "Who am I?" I really didn't know. And, it scared me. And I had this child, right, that I had to take care of. And so, yes, there were steps, and that was one of the cures, apparently, that were supposed to help, but really didn't help. It was more detrimental than helpful. And yes, I had therapy and marriage therapy. I did all the protocols and the steps that they say will help me embrace life more fully. But yet I had no vitality. I hid from people. I didn't want to be social. I kept to myself. And so it was, did it work? I would say that it failed me. It made me numb. It put me on this middle ground where I could feel nothing. And as human beings, we don't change overnight. To be steady, it takes a long time. So this getting out of that, I had a little bit of faith left. I grew up a Christian, and then it was always in the background, even though I didn't go to church for 35 years. And, I did everything that I thought would make me happy. And yet I still felt empty inside. And so there's just a little flicker of hope still
So
left.
going back to that depressed state, I know for myself that it's really difficult, when you're in your depressed state, and sometimes you're just happy and all of a sudden you're depressed again for some reason, and for no reason, apparently, for no apparent reason. And so what was that like? Were there any external factors or anyone that you looked up to, or anyone that was telling you, okay, this is what you do, these are the steps that you do? Like, was there someone who was telling you, okay, you have to like think of this instead of this?
I did have those roller coaster moments, and what the medications were supposed to do was to level you off, and it did that, but it also numbed me. I really wasn't living. I was just going through the motions.
And
So
so
that's not life.
what was that moment when you finally said, I'm tired of this. I don't want to be living like this. You have a daughter who's dependent on you. You have to take care of somebody. What was that moment when, it finally clicked and you said, okay, this is it. I am beginning my new life.
It didn't quite happen that way. I wish it did. I'd had this voila moment, okay, I'm going to go do it. Well, first of all, I went through a divorce, a very painful divorce, and my daughter was a casualty of that. And I am so truly sorry that we weren't there to really take care of her needs at that time. But it was through friendship. I had friends, such supportive friends, and this is part of the book and the movie that really capitalizes on what friendship is. So I had my peeps, and then that one moment that finally broke the camel's back was when I opened the door after a knock on the door, and there was this stranger on the front door, and asked if my husband was home. And I realized what that whole transaction was. And I said, no, the respect is totally gone. I lost respect. He lost respect. He did not respect me to bring elements like that into my home, into a family that already is struggling. And so that's when I decided that, I can't have this life for my daughter. Not like that. And for me as well. I totally forgot what respect looked like. And so that was the background in which I then moved forward in my life and started to prepare for that.
And so what happened after that when you decided, okay, that part of your life is no longer part of you and you want something else? So what did you do after that?
Well, of course, then the next step was to change my environment. Yes, you can't soar. You can't move forward when you're constantly in the same environment that's not doing any good for you. There's no benefit to it. So I had to change my environment. That was the first thing. So I moved out, got a new place, and that's where things started to happen, you know. And I found a whole new set of friends after a trip to the Philippines that was Christian based. A women's group actually helped pull me through. So again, going back to what I was raised on, you know, anything I could grab onto that would give me support, I did. So to answer your question, what did I do? First of all, my friends were there to help me. I joined a support group that I thought was really, really good for me. They were all single women. We were all either divorced or widowed or, you know, just single, right? So it was that was the first step.
And I remember in the book you were saying that, like you mentioned, you took a trip to the Philippines.
Yes.
And that was like a defining moment
Oh,
for
yeah.
you, life-changing, defining moment.
Yes.
And in the book you mentioned complete abandon or complete surrender
Yes.
to a higher being, to the divine, and complete abandonment of whatever happened to what your life was, and saying yes to whatever possibility there was.
Yes. So I'm living in my new place, and I get a phone call. It's my friends from the Philippines, and I've been in contact with them since Facebook. Thank you, Facebook. And they invited me to come to the, I believe it was the 40th school reunion, and all the classes, the different classes, the different years were going to be there. And so I said, you know what? Maybe this is what I should be doing. I should travel. And so I did. And that was really like, I sat on that plane journaling and I said, you know, I feel like this trip is going to be really different. And I haven't been back to the Philippines in over 40 years. So that was kind of like a, you know, a going home kind of thing. And I knew that it was just going to be different this time. And
So you've lived here since you were 11 years old, and I'm sure there are a lot of things that are different because you're Americanized now.
Yes.
And so what was it like coming back home to your old hometown and seeing everyone, you know, from your childhood?
yes, and I had to really like polish up on my Cebuano because I went to school in Cebu, and I lived in Talisay, and I went to East Visayan Academy. I think that's what they still call it. And you know, the thing about being Filipino is you're welcome anywhere. Well, anytime you run into Philippines, whether it's in Germany or Spain or anywhere, you know, it's like, wow, come home to us, you know. Oh, we are so connected. We're Filipinos. And I love that about going back. There was no like, oh, who do you think she is? You know, nothing like that. I mean, it was just so welcoming. And we picked up right where we left off, like nothing, like no years have gone by. You know, we were separated for decades. And yeah, it was really nice. It was like a true homecoming for me.
And so speaking of picking up where you left off, you met someone there and during your trip that kind of changed everything for you.
Yes,
right?
I am. When I went back, and I wasn't in the hotel for 5 minutes. My friends who picked me up from the airport said, "Hey, are you going to call so and so?" I said, "What? What are you guys up to?" You know, it's like, yeah, go. You know, he never married. you should call him. And now you're divorced. You should call him. I said, call him? No way. I don't chase, okay? I don't chase. And so anyway, we ended up, all of us, I made a deal with them. I said, all of us will write him, inviting him to come to the reunion. Yeah, so that's how it started. I didn't see him on that trip.
Effort.
It was, I don't know. I mean, that was so far from my mind. I'm like, man, what? No.
And so what happened when you finally met the man?
Well, he was my 4th or 5th grade crush. And I've not heard from him for over, all these years. Nothing, right? And, well, he answered my little messenger. My little note.
You're all like getting giddy.
Yeah, I was like, at first, no, I wasn't giddy then, but I was, now that I'm thinking about it, it's pretty funny. But it was like, oh, he's writing me back, I was not interested at all, but I was being polite. Yeah. But I didn't see him on that trip. I saw him on my next trip to the Philippines, which was 2 months later, because I had to use up tickets. Otherwise, they would go unused. And
so that was the universe calling you back.
Yeah.
Because there was something for you.
Something. And so I met him at that trip. And the second trip, which was in, I think, March or April, there was, what is it? Easter. It was during Easter, so April. Yes, and that's when I met him again.
So what was that relationship like? What happened? Like, what made you want to get to know this guy again?
That's interesting because I actually had a brunch dinner. I invited some cousins that I've never met before. I kept my promise to my mom. My mom said, would you please go back to the Philippines and meet your cousins? I'd like that for you. So I did. And for the first time, I met about 22 of them, 22 relatives, my cousins and their family. And so I wasn't in the hotel for 5 minutes. My phone rings, and it says, there's a Mr. So-and-so on the phone for you, and it was him, because I had told him that I was going to be there. And anyway, he says, can we get together, or something of that effect? And I said, oh, well, you need to come to me, because I don't know my way around Manila, right? And he did. And so, long story short, he showed up towards the end of this brunch, and, he came early. I go, why are you 45 minutes early? And so I didn't know what to
45 minutes?
Yeah, I didn't know what to do. He texts me, I'm in the lobby. I said, you're early. What am I going to do? I've never met these cousins, and I didn't want them to think, oh my God, here's this floozy from America. She's not here for a whole week, and she's already like entertaining guys, I mean, I just didn't want them to get the wrong impression of me. But I made a decision that, okay, I'm just going to have him join us. And he did. And, everybody welcomed him, started calling him Kuya. I'm sorry. That was too much. I can barely contain myself and go, oh my God, what is this? Hi, Kuya. I've just introduced him as a friend from grade school. And Kuya ka agad? Naku, ano ba? But so I stepped back and observed how he interacted with my relatives. And I said, okay, well, he can handle this,
So what did you see in him that made you say there could be a chance?
Oh, no, there was not even that thought that there could be a chance. I just looked at him and I said, oh my, what do we have here?
Did you think that was something you missed all along?
What do you mean?
Like that was something that you missed out on the whole time?
No,
No?
not at all. I'm telling you, Mick, getting involved with another man was the farthest thought from my mind. Oh, remember, I was done with men, okay? Nothing, nada, zero, zilch.
So how did you get together? I mean, I mean, what was the
Oh,
process?
you're gonna have
like?
to read the book. It gets juicy, so I'm not gonna spill the beans. You have to go see the movie. You're gonna see it there. That's it. That's all I'm gonna say.
So from what it sounds like, this man was the man of your dreams that you've never gotten a chance to be with
All those
50-something
years?
years.
Oh, not at all. That's the farthest thing from my mind. I just, it was just interesting. I thought it was interesting. I was curious to know how his life turned out. He had rather sad eyes, and I said, I wonder what that could be about. You know, and me, I like to get to know people. So
You
I
like people with sad eyes.
Not really. Not really. I just get curious because, you know, why did he show up in my space like this? Got to be a reason.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe I was there to make a difference in his life. I don't know how, but, you know, I got curious.
But there is that thing that, you know, like people say you meet people for a reason.
Yes.
Or certain things happen to you for a reason.
Yes.
Did you think that
That's
way?
the way I was thinking. I said, why is this man showing up in my space? What am I supposed to do with this? And that's where the curiosity began. And so I flew back to to the U.S.
Was there any curiosity on his part?
Yes. He wouldn't have come. He wouldn't have come out of his comfort zone to go ride a bus for 2 hours or wherever he came from, to go to the Shangri-La Hotel to meet me. I mean, he made an effort. Okay, I'll take that. Yes.
And so there's something to be said about men who really make an effort.
Yes.
Was that your sign?
No, I wasn't looking for any signs. I really wasn't. I was just going with the flow. I was nothing. No. You're going to have to just see the movie.
And so speaking of the movie, so your movie Love and Karma is based on the book that you've written,
Yes.
which is based on your journaling for all these years, right?
Well, it maybe from towards the end of my marriage and to the present time until about 2024.
And so how were you able, I mean, what made you think of all things that could be done, why a movie? Because producing a movie is a really difficult task
Yes.
to do.
Because I didn't do my research, okay? If I had done my research on what it took to make a movie, how to form a team, blah, 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 oh my God, I don't think I would have taken this challenge. But I can't tell you the preceding circumstances that led to my decision to make a movie, other than I wanted to share a story. And I wanted to share a story that would impact many lives. And I'm in my sunset years now, so I don't have the time to go one-on-one and share with just one person at a time what happened to me, what my experience was, and how I want to share that joy and that happiness and to other people. So I thought that the best approach would be to just make a movie, right? Just make a movie.
And so in making that movie, you had to, you know, put together an ensemble,
Yes.
cast of
Yeah.
people, if you will.
Yes.
there's the actors, like
The crew,
extras,
the crew,
like
the behind the
casting.
scenes. Yes, a lot goes into making a production, and it takes planning. Yes, so, and I'm grateful for the team that I had. We started and finished. I've been told many times that it's a miracle that a movie gets made. Sometimes movies take years to complete. I've heard of stories where, I went to this one screening, and this man was so committed to this movie, but it took him 25 years to finish. I mean, and then there's another one that I know of that took 8 years to finish. So I'm sure there's many, many stories about that. But so I'm very grateful that I was able to finish this, within 2 years.
What was the driving force behind you wanting to finish the movie right away?
Well, right away is because I needed my investment money back. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I didn't want to lose my investment, or I didn't want to. And I mean, this is a passion project. It's not. I didn't really set out to, make a ton of money on it. And if I do, I will thank um, the unseen hands for the guidance and for the blessings, yes, and the
Mm-hmm.
benefits, yeah. But yeah. So did I answer your question?
Yeah, and there's something that you said about um divine guidance and having, you know, the mindset of like that there's infinite possibility out there, and it's that abundance mindset that often heard from you, and like I've learned from you. And so what is that about? Like what made you have that kind of mindset, like coming from a very deep, dark phase of your life, like to like what we see now? I mean, that's like a 180-degree change.
Yes, yes,
And it's very difficult, to come off, from that state
yes.
to this kind of, state that
Yeah.
you're in. You're so happy and joyful, and everywhere you go, you're just a firecracker everywhere.
Thank you for
And
noticing.
there's and everyone can feel that, when you said like that complete abandon or complete surrender to the universe, or complete surrender to God or to the divine, like it's obvious and people see that.
And I hope my authenticity comes through. I think that's what you're trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and let me just take it two steps backwards. During my courtship with this man, we'll call him V, um, he kept preaching to me, sending me Bible verses, and just, it started to annoy me because I wasn't religious and I didn't read the Bible. I just totally turned my back on that. But he kept sending it to me. For one day, I finally said, V, it is not your job to save me. Okay? Stop. If you really want me to go back to God, go back to church, then you show me what this love is. Show me. Because I don't know what that is. Okay? So I challenged him. And because of that challenge, he actually showed me. And
He rose up to the challenge.
He rose up to the challenge. The guy never attacked me personally. Never. He would say things that I could hear. And so it brought my level of self-esteem up. It brought, but he did show me what unconditional love was like. And it just made me flourish as a person. Mm-hmm. So it was the first step, right? The acceptance.
What's an example of that unconditional love? Like how would you recognize that that's an unconditional love?
Okay, for instance, it's little things, and I wouldn't say that it's the big bang kind of, boom.
It's not.
I love you, boom. It's nothing like that. It's how he treats you and how he respected me and how he was kind, and how he never pushed his issues on me. We had our little disagreements, but it would always be focused on that topic. It would never be an affront towards me. So let me give you an example. For instance, I make clutter wherever I go. I take my earrings off, I put it on the couch, I take my rings off, put shoes, they're just all over the place, right? And with the intention, of course, cleaning it up later. But sometimes he will tell me, oh, my dear, I think your things have legs. They're starting to walk over towards my side of the room, things like that. And he would just make light of it. And he said, can I help you maybe put things away? Or there was one time it was really funny. And he was very observant. And he would just treat me with so much respect. I felt loved. Mm-hmm. Like, he didn't idolize me. Oh, please. He would tell me when what my perspective, or he would challenge my perspective, which is nice. I like challenges like that. But we'd have discussions. We'd never fight, like, not like before. Mm-hmm. So that was one. That's a good example. When a man respects you, I mean, it's just like, wow. You know, when they listen to you and respect your point of views without saying, "Oh, what kind of a person would do that?" You know, that shows you're just like small thinker because you're thinking that. Nothing like that. Never an affront to me.
So how did this unconditional love and support coming from this one man that you haven't seen in a very very long time? He was your childhood crush. Like how did that lead or help you become the person that you are now, like with this mindset of infinite abundance and infinite possibilities?
Okay. Well, first of all, I I divide. I have 7 components of love.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. First of all, love is patient. He was so patient with me. Okay. So that made me patient with other people. He was kind. So that made me kind. And I realized that he, you know, the first thing he asked me when we first met on over the internet was, "Are you still a Christian?" And that rattled my brain. I said, "What the you know, what kind
Because
of a
you weren't
question is that?"
Christian back then, right?
No, I wasn't. I mean, it was like, "Are you still a Christian?" I said, "Excuse me?" I said, "I try to live a good life. I try to be a good person. Isn't that enough?" You know, so he was trying to measure to see if he could live with my worldliness. And he accepted me for who I am. And that's the other thing. Love, one component of love is that you accept that person wholly, you know, given that you've got these personality traits, whatever. You're willing to accept that person as they are. So that's what he gave me. Okay? Just total acceptance. So that made me think about, okay, I can't be judgmental with that person. And trust me, he had his moments. Okay, he wasn't perfect. But those things that were missing in my life that he kind of demonstrated was very transformational for me. So when you meet somebody that treats you a totally different way than how you've been treated for, you know, so many years, makes you feel just that. It gives you confidence, gives you, you know, like rethinking that maybe, you know, I can soar. Give me that platform where I can stand and then push me up like that. And I did the same for him. He too metamorphosized, you know. From he had a lot of fears. Oh my God. Talk about fearful living. Phobias. I don't like that food. You know, things like that. I had to accept him the way he was, right? Yeah. So it's like what Paco was saying, and I was in a conversation with him. That it's a give and take. It's really a give and take. And so when you have that, you flourish. Both of you flourish. And we were gifted 6 months in Bali together. And so every day we got to reinvent ourselves. Like, okay, yesterday's gone, today's today. Who are we going to be for each other? You know? And we would call each other on like, "Oh, you're grumpy this morning. go have some sugar, or did you have your coffee yet?" You know? Things like
So
that.
it was a conscious and conscientious way of living. Like tomorrow, I mean, what we have now in the present is what we have now. Like yesterday is gone. Like you
Yes.
could be something else today and something else tomorrow.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
you don't have, you're not holding back to the thought of what happened yesterday.
Exactly. And you just pick up the lessons. Everything that happens in your life, there's a lesson for. Okay? It's kind of getting a mirror in front of you and saying, "Okay, what was that?" Right? And one thing that I must say that contributed to a lot of my kind of like, I don't know if you call it energy, okay, was I was introduced to Nichiren Buddhism in spring of 2023. And that was the first time I've ever heard the notion of karma. I mean, I've heard it like in the Filipino culture, karma, ooh, so karma will get you, or something like that, right? And it has a kind of like a negative, kind of resigned connotation. And in Nichiren Buddhism, they say that karma is responsible action, and that you can change your circumstances. And so, fueled with this growth I'd experienced from V, you know, being with him, and then being introduced to this philosophy, it just fueled me. It just and they also, and some of the learnings that I gathered from that is that once you change your circumstances, then it's really reflecting inside of you, so that you can actually tap into unlimited, unshakable happiness. But you have to couple it with faith. And I've always, since the time of V, and maybe even before that, I had faith, and it just kept getting stronger and stronger. Yes. And so I think you mentioned something about fear and faith. You know, when you're looking at changing your life, there's always going to be fear that grips you. What if? You know, what if I can't make that rent? You know, what if I don't get a job? I'm going to move all the way across the country. And what if that job that I just got across the country doesn't work out? I mean, you can't keep staying in that. So how I deal with fear right now, or doubt, I just say, hello, fear. Oh, so nice of you to visit. You can only stay a few minutes, okay? And then I'm going to show you to the door. Tick, boom, out.
And so how did you, going back to V and your experiences with him, how were you able to go back to your faith?
V was a really good example of discipline and believing that your prayers are going to be answered. He says that he had faith that he was going to meet somebody. And then he says, and then within 6 months I showed up. You know, I said, oh, okay, so you prayed for me? Was I the one that you prayed for, really? You know, because, well, you're like a hurricane, but okay, that's what God sent me, and that's what I'm going to deal with. You know, that's what he said. So going back to your question, how did
your experiences with V lead you to
your faith? Okay, so, like I said, so he would always, he would tell me stories of his life and how his faith had carried him through. And so I had to believe in something. Even when I was in my marriage, there was still faith. I mean, I didn't call it faith then. I just maybe called it hope, or something else that I was clinging to. Where is that fire in my soul that was dimming, but yet it was still there? I clung to something. And once I recognized that, okay, this invisible force around us is real, or has something to do with how we're living our lives now and what we can do, I just kept believing. You know, I just kept believing. And in Kabbalah, they have a saying. It's like certainty beyond logic, like that. So I clung to that. I said, I have no evidence that my life is going to go this way or that way, but I'm going to believe that I'm going to be okay. Whatever it is that I'm doing, I'm facing, the universe has got my back.
That is so true.
That's it. I'm sure, haven't you experienced that?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You have to believe. And that's faith. So with karma and faith and love, I mean, you can't lose.
And so what do you want your readers and people who go to watch the movie, what do you want them to come away with?
Okay, so for the book, the last 2 chapters are dedicated, 1 chapter to love and 1 chapter to karma. And I touch a lot on changing your circumstances in my book. And in the movie, it's about, I want my audience and guests to look at the importance of friendship, love at any age. You don't have to be 12 or 18 or 21 to fall in love. It can happen at any time. What societal expectations are like. The movie touches on that as well. Again, there's some grief in it. How do you pull out of the grief? I also deal with that here. And then there is the unconditional love, and then forgiveness. So all those are touched upon in the movie. So I hope that you will walk away with, oh, I don't have to be in my whatever circumstances that you're not happy with. You can change that, and that there's the possibilities of your life are so unlimited. The possibilities of your life are so unlimited. And so the tagline of the movie is life without limits and love without boundaries. Or sometimes I interchange them, life without boundaries, love without limits. So it's really, if you just try on love where it's not a control thing, where it's not trying to dominate another person, or, it really, it can work. It can work. And you can find peace within yourself.
You mentioned that, if you impact at least one person, then you would have fulfilled your mission in life.
Yes.
Through this movie and through this book.
He was very verbal about that. He says, I haven't really accomplished what I wanted to accomplish in life. I haven't made my millions. I don't even own a house, And he said, but if I can love you the way God loves me, then I know you will go out and love other people. So that's kind of the crux of it.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's such a beautiful story that everyone ought to hear. Everyone needs love.
Love, love, love.
That song. Where can people find your book and your movie?
Okay, my movie is premiering to the public on November 19 at 3 p.m. It is part of the Asian World Film Festival that's going on right now until the 20th. And just go to asianworldfilmfest.org for tickets. And then there's a 25% discount code, and it's AWFF 2025 25. AWFF 2025 25. And then my book is available on Barnes & Noble, Apple Books, Smashwords, Kobo. It's available on 20 platforms, so just Google it, and it might show up. It just says Celeste Friedman Butterfly, or Butterfly by Celeste Friedman. I changed the tagline, though. It used to be Where Hearts Meet Fate, The Infinite Journey of Love and Karma. I made it shorter, and now it says Butterfly, Happiness, Love, and Karma.
Thank you so much, everybody. Let's all give Celeste a big thank you.
Thank you for listening and tuning in. Just my 2 cents on life. Thank you.
And so we'll see you in the next episode of Chat with Nick. Bye.